1 tire, 2 tires, 3 tires, 4, bad tire. Yep, this is where we're at right now. As you can imagine, this is not how I want to start my day, but today, this is the reality of how I'm starting my day. So, I ended up sleeping at a Walmart tire center in hopes of getting this fixed, because yesterday was literally one of the worst days of my life. Now you're probably thinking, oh, that's super dramatic, but after yesterday, no, it was rough. Everything that could go wrong yesterday, I felt like did. I left base camp with this anxiety, like this heaviness, and I couldn't figure out why. And I'm a firm believer that you should trust your gut, but at the same time, sometimes your gut doesn't know what exactly it's thinking. So I just knew I had a lot of stress, and I had no idea why, and I thought it was just because of the anxiety of getting back on the road. And in fact, it was the world warning me about what was to come. And so by the time that I got to New Mexico, I was already thinking, okay, first and foremost, the weather is a bit warmer than I thought it was going to be coming out this way. So I'm going to try to find a cooler spot. That did not work out. Ultimately, I was equalized and said, no, you will not go any further than Trinidad, Colorado. As I was going down the road, my tire blew. And I was on a road that not a lot of people travel. And it was really scary because there's no actual like pull off. So even if you're pulled off, you're still kind of on the road. And so that was a lot. And it was probably one of my moments of van life that made the least amount of sense to me because it was so stressful. And then right after that, I left and it was just like a bird ran into my windshield. And so I just gave up after that. I was like, okay, I'm done. I get it. So with that said, I came to this Walmart, which was about 80 miles away, but it was the closest Walmart that I thought might have my tires. So this is how the day's gonna go. Now with the NV200, I have a smaller tire, so not everybody carries my tires. So that's a big deal. And then also I learned in this situation that my jack is not very good. So I need to find a jack also. And that's also gonna be a task to say the least. So with that said, this is how I'm gonna celebrate my morning this morning with an early morning trip to the tire center. Okay, I may have some unsettling news. They may not have the tire. He's gonna come out and look though to see, but he said they don't have them in the system. That's not good. Okay, they do not have my tire here, so I'm going to go to another place that he recommended. He was very nice. He did tell me they could order something and have it here by tomorrow, so worst case scenario, I can do that. I'll just have to like hang out. But the positive is there is another place just like right over here, and he said they have a slightly larger selection, and then he also gave me some recommendations for going to Pueblo, which he said is like 45 minutes up the road. So at least we have a way that we can do this now. I'm not looking forward to this at all still. This has been stressful. This has been super stressful, as you can imagine. So I'm going to Big O now. Okay, apparently Big O is just literally right over here. So that's a positive. I see it. There it is. Okay, crossing our fingers that they have the tire. It also looks like they're pretty busy, so this could be interesting. There she is, guys. Getting fixed. Okay, so this is the deal. They don't have the exact tire that goes on my van, but they do have a similar tire to what goes on my van. So they're going to put that on the spare, put the spare back over, and then we'll be done. It's about $140. And then I'm gonna tackle getting new tires whenever I get back to Texas, just as a whole, so I'll have a whole matching set of 6-plies. So that is something to put on my list that I'm gonna need to do before I travel big again. This has been stressful, but I'm not finished after this. I still have to go and find a new jack because I learned that my jack wasn't very good either. And so I'm just gonna get a floor jack, I think. The people who helped me yesterday, that's what they had. And so I'm going to get one of those just because it seems to be a bit easier to use. Also in cases where it completely shredded apart and it was literally on the ground, there wasn't enough room really for the jack to get in there and do what it needed to do with the kind of jack I have. So Oh, good times. So I'm just watching them work on the van right now. Oh, I think they're finished, guys. That's awesome. So now we can go pay and get back to finding a jack. That didn't take any time. That makes me so much happier because now I have a whole day to do stuff. So as soon as they pull it around, I'll go over here, pay the man, and then try to find this jack. Okay, so now that the van is ready and I'm back at it, I'm going back to Walmart now to look for a floor jack. Looked online, it says they have them in stock, so we're gonna see if that's true. After this will get most of my fears of being on the road down to a simmer a little bit better. There's a lot that goes into van life, and all the moving parts can really be intimidating sometimes. Yesterday I thought I was gonna break down, and I had a moment where I actually kind of did. I had a panic attack. It wasn't like so severe that it was just like I'm hyperventilating on the side of the road, but it was a moment where it wasn't my finest moment. And I think that kind of, happens from time to time, and it's how we roll with it that matters. So after I got my wits about me and we got everything fixed and I made it to this Walmart that I camped at, took a deep breath, and I decided that it was time for me to just not worry, because I couldn't do anything else about it at that moment. And after I took that burden off my brain, it helped so much. Van life is unpredictable. You're in a vehicle. It's a moving thing. And so there's going to be things that arise that aren't necessarily things you pop up at a regular sticks and bricks. At the same time, the maintenance part is very similar to a sticks and bricks. So with that said, instead of looking at the negatives, we're always looking for the positives. And in my case, there were a lot of positives. I was able to make it the 81 miles to this Walmart. And whenever they did not have the tire, there was another place that did have the tire. So instead of being a Debbie Downer, instead of whining in our post toasties, instead of giving up, throwing in the towel, freaking out, we can do those things for a minute, but then we have to get it together and have reality. And reality is, if you are on the road, you have to be somewhat self-sufficient. And even though I was stressed, struggling, and needed help, at the end of the day, I was the one who had to pull away by myself. And so I had to take on that burden and that weight. So those are things to think of if you're getting involved in van life. Even though I have been on the road as long as I have, I've never had an issue quite like that one. And it made me realize that even in the comfortable space that I have created, even in the aesthetic of what I have, even in the functionality of the toolkits that I have provided, there's still room to grow, expand, and change. And so now that I've done that, $145 later, we have a tire. And now I don't know how much this floor jack's gonna cost, but it's not an option, it's a need. And even if I never use it again, I need it in case I need it. That's one of the things with safety equipment. You purchase them in hopes of never actually needing to use them. And they're pretty big purchases usually. Getting your tools, getting your jumper cables, getting your battery components, getting your treads, things like that. All of those things are things that you get in anticipation of something happening because you'd rather have it than not. And usually they just live up on the roof. So in I go. Let's see how much damage this is gonna be. Meanwhile, there's the new tire. Okay, I found something that might work. We'll see. Okay, another $50 later, I have a jack that I think will work. It's a 2-ton jack, and we'll see. I guess we'll see. I also purchased a new tire gauge because I really want to be able to just rapidly check my tires. And so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to move to another part of the parking lot. I'm going to check all my tires again. Even though I was just at the tire shop, sometimes if you don't specify, hey, can you please check all my pressure? They don't. And my light is on, so I don't know if it's because the new tire is being weird with the spare that is now the tire that's running, if that makes sense. So I'm just gonna check them all, and if any of them are low, we're gonna put some air in them, because with as many miles as I'm traveling, I don't need them to be aired down. So 48 in the back, and I think 40 or 44 in the front. I'll check though. But I'm gonna move out of the main traffic area because I don't need to be working on my van in a Walmart parking lot in the middle of everything. So instead I'm gonna move further over to the side where I'm out of the way so that I don't cause any issues. Oh, we're getting closer finally though. Wow. It's amazing how much that you don't think about these kinds of things until it's like, oh no, I need to think about these kind of things. Oh, it's been a wild 24 hours, that's for sure. Wow, the wind is insane today. Okay, checked all the tires. All of them seem to be okay. The new tire on this side is actually a little bit overfilled. I could air it down a bit, but I'm not going to. I think it'll be fine. It's not overfilled to the point where it's like a problem. It's like 1 pound off. With my van, 1 pound can make the sensors go crazy. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drive it to my next destination. And at that next destination, then I'm going to figure out if I need to do anything else. It's a constant struggle trying to figure out maintenance issues. And especially if you come from a background that is not having a clue as to what a van is about. It's really a learning curve, and we all are in it together as we're learning here on the channel as to what I'm going through. So, some thoughts to kind of think about if you are watching this and you are thinking about van life or might be already in van life. Consider your jack. Consider your ability to use that jack. Have you ever tested the jack? Now, these are things I thought I was comfortable with. I've used a scissor jack before. I've used it on a smaller vehicle. I've never had an issue. But when it comes to the van itself, it works a little bit differently. In theory, you put the jack under, you crank it, and there's room for that to happen. But because of the depth of where you have to place it on the van, you really have to be under there to do it. And also there's no real extender bar to bring it outside to make it a bit easier. So for my safety, I just decided this was not a good idea. Not to mention, when they were using the jack on the actual van, it was kind of just grinding because there wasn't enough room to really use it. And so I feel like the floor jack with the cranking up and down is going to be a much better fit for what I do and being able to get underneath a little bit easier. Now, a couple other things I'm going to be putting some thought into. New tires. My tires aren't terrible by any means, but learning that I have a kind of rare tire, a 6-ply 15-inch tire that isn't sold everywhere, that kind of makes you think about, okay, well, if there isn't even a thought that I'm going to need some new tires, look into doing that. So I think whenever I go back to base camp, I'm going to be looking into a full new set, simply because that way they'll all wear evenly together. Right now with this new tire on the back, it's going to make the van feel different than on the tires that are already slightly used. And there's nothing I can do about that. So I'm going to be kind of pulling a little bit probably to that side, just because it's a brand new tire. Good times. Another challenge. So yeah, the reason I do these kinds of videos is so that I can illustrate the real life scenarios that you encounter. Whenever I documented all the stuff going on with my wreck and my van, I know a lot of people were like, okay, just get on the road. But in reality, we now see there are other challenges that come along with that. And now, documenting this, I hope that it inspires everybody to think about the things that you have. I know we've talked about packing safety solutions, but have you implemented and used those safety solutions before? And do you feel confident with them? I know that yesterday really threw me into a loop of questioning, do I actually feel confident doing those kinds of things? And it also encouraged me to get out there and feel a little bit more comfortable by trying to do some of these things a little bit more so I can practice. Now, you don't have to change the tire every time you jack up the van, but getting comfortable with being under the van, getting comfortable with the implement of how to take down the spare tire, things like that. Those are all things that I can do whenever I get back to base camp to kind of make myself feel a little bit better should I be stranded on the side of the road in a place that's very inconvenient. So I encourage you guys to do the same. for now, I am going to find a safe place to kind of just go and hang out and not have to think, because today is all about relaxing before the big event that I'm going to. And now that I have all this handled, over $200 down, now I can go do that. Thanks guys for coming along. Remember, we're not here for a long time, but we are here for a good time. And some days it's a challenge. Today was definitely that. Till next time, guys. Bye.